Hello, I'm Pamela Davis Brown. Welcome to episode 252 of the Well Done Life podcast. And hello, welcome back to episode 252 of the Well Done Life podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Davis Brown. If you are new here, hey, how are you? Welcome. I am so glad that you're here this week. I hope that you will stay for a very long time and bring lots of friends. And if you've been here before, you guys know the deal. I love you deep. Thank you so much for continuing to rock with me. I wouldn't be able to be at this point without you, and I am so glad that you are part of my journey. I hope that you will continue to stay a part of my journey, as well as to bring friends and stick around. So before we get into this week's episode, everyone knows I like to be really foundational. I'm sure if you've watched this before or heard me, you could probably recite this with me. But essentially, I really feel like the Well Done Life podcast and this brand is something that I created because I believe in the power of women. And so as we are talking about this brand, this safe space, I treat it like we're building a house. And so I want to make sure that our foundation is really strong. So I like to make sure that my foundation is built on clarity and love. Clarity is really straightforward. Like I said, I love women. I believe in women. And that's why I created this brand, because I want us to have spaces where we could be our most authentic self, where we can talk about the highs and the lows and all of the things in between. And so that we can learn from each other. I don't want anyone making the same mistakes I've made. I'm hopeful that you will learn something different and do a different and be better than me, because I think that that's what life is about. We all have a responsibility to share our experiences, every part of them, because there's someone that's going to learn from us. And you're not going to just learn from me. Believe it or not, we will have guests. Yes, it's been a while, but I will definitely have guests on as well, because I love sharing other women's stories and amplifying them. Because again, I want to make sure that you have resources. I want to make sure you have people to be inspired and learn from. So that's what this space is all about. So welcome. And then that leads right into my second foundation, which is really the heart of everything that we do. I believe in love. I'm a sucker for love. So we do everything in love here. And so with that, before I share my knowledge or my insights, I always like to make sure that I start off foundationally in prayer. I'm a really strong believer in the power of prayer. And especially when two or more come together, our prayers get amplified. And so I'm a firm believer that everyone is probably praying a variation or something similar to what I am praying. And I've been standing on these key foundational things for a while, and I probably will be standing on them for a very long time to come because they are essential. And so my first prayer for you is always going to be peace. I pray that you are able to take a moment out of your schedule today, this week, to prioritize you. I know it is really hard, especially as women. We are pulled in so many different directions, and between work and family and life, and then trying to prioritize ourselves, it can get very overwhelming. And so I always say that you should please steal time for yourself, where you are able to sit in stillness, where you are able to check in and regulate yourself, because it's so important to kind of be able to sift through all of the noise and be able to get back to the center, to be able to get back to yourself so that you can have my next prayer, which is clarity. Clarity is essential, especially in times like these where you are pulled in so many different directions and there's so much information coming at you. It's very easy to get caught up in the things that are not necessarily true. And you wind up feeling like you are not making decisions from a place of strength. And so clarity is essential. So like I said, you can understand what's in front of you, where you're trying to go. It doesn't mean that it's always going to be there. I would love to say we will all have that, but giving ourselves the space to have it is essential, and you deserve that. So I am praying that you will have peace that will lead you to be able to be clear about the things that are in front of you. And then I always am going to pray for you to have love. And I want you to have real love. And I'm talking about the love from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And I don't mean that necessarily in a relationship. I want you to have a good community around you. You need people that you can rely on, that you can count on. And let's be honest, it's not going to be probably where you guys are connecting all the time. There's going to be moments where there will be silence in between you, but it's still, when you get back together, it feels like time hasn't passed and you just are able to pick back in. Those people who just make you feel good just being in their energy and their space. Just even if they're able to send you a text or something every once in a while to let you know that they think of you and that they miss you and check in with you, it's essential. And so I want you to have that, because that's your crew. Those are your people. Those are the people that are going to get you through when times get hard, because nobody's going to come and save you, baby. You are exactly who you are looking for. You are exactly who you need. That's what God gave you. He gave you that ability to recognize that through Him, that you are more than a conqueror. You are more than enough. And so you get these wonderful, amazing people that are a part of your life as well. Your clique, your crew, your homies who got your back, who reinforce in you who you are, who pour life into you when you feel a little lost, to just keep you being reminded that you are able to do more than you ever thought you could. And then at the same time, you get the opportunity to be a vessel for them. So just make sure that it's reciprocal. Make sure that you are valuing your squares, your circle, your peeps, and surrounding yourself in the love that you deserve. So those are my prayers for you. I hope that you will accept them and that you will receive and share them back with the world. Because remember, when prayers are magnified, when prayers are unified, magnification and growth happens. And that's what we all should strive for. So I am sitting and recording. It is Friday, June 12th at 8:27 p.m. And I'm really glad to have this moment. It feels always so good when I get a chance to come and sit down. And, I'm trying to get back into my consistency thing because life has been lifing, but I'm really, really honored to be here. I want to thank everybody for their support of last week's episode, Consistency is Sexy. If you hadn't had a chance to take a listen to it, I would check it out. Consistency is a very sexy thing. It's not just about something physically, or something just being all about the romance of it. But being able to be consistent is sexy. Being able to put yourself first, being able to be true to who you are, being true to your partners, being true to your friends, that is sexy. Consistency is a beautiful thing, and it's going to be the key to many different levels in your life. That's the one thing a lot of us don't get. Sometimes we want to give up when it gets too hard, when we don't understand why we're in certain seasons, and you miss out on your blessing, not because you weren't capable of it. You miss out because you weren't consistent. And so remember, small steps lead to big outcomes. And so try it, check out. Consistency is sexy, and hopefully that will inspire you. But essentially, I'm here this week because I want to talk about something that I think is a little bit more, or I know it's a little bit more personal for me. Not like I'm already not personal. And I have been teeing up, obviously, content shifts, talking more from a health and wellness perspective, because I'm not going to pretend, I have really become this wellness junkie, this health and wellness person on my own journey. And really, I wanted to talk about it because I want to make sure that as I try to start sharing more information about different health and wellness aspects, because I think that's essential at this phase of our lives, that I talk about the fact that for me, this journey is never about achieving specific goals. And I want you to think about that as it relates to yourself, because we're all trying to achieve something. We are all at a phase of our lives, if you think about it, where we have to ask ourselves, who are we trying to become? Because there's always going to be a season of where you're becoming, where you're trying to be better. You're not who you used to be now. And so it's like trying to lay the foundation for where you want to go. And the question isn't always about, what are we doing to get there as it relates to training? The question is, are we training ourselves toward our goals intentionally? And like I mentioned, you guys know I've been on this health journey, and I've been really, really focused over the last year. If I think about it, now we're on almost in year 2, and I'm really grateful for where I am. This last year has taught me so many things. And one of the greatest things that it taught me, like I said last week, that I needed to be consistent and that being consistent was sexy. But it also taught me that this was a season where I was changing my relationship with myself. This was the season where I was becoming someone new. And so I want to make sure that we kind of talk about this in a way where it's not necessarily all just about wellness, because like I said, we're all training for something, but it's also understanding that this new version of us is going to require a lot more intentionality. And so I want to walk you through how to do this, but I want to walk you through using my journey to hopefully give you some level setting, because I'm not going to pretend. I am not the person I was when I started this journey a year ago. And I will not be that person anymore because, like I said, I'm changing. And so we're going to take this in segments and kind of talk about it because, like I said, I want you to be able to see the flexibility in regards to how being able to be intentional about your health can also apply to you being intentional in other areas of your life. And so let's kind of dive in. Let's talk about this first from getting to the point where we understand that the life that we want is going to require a different version of us. And when I say a different version of us, it's going to require us understanding that we can focus on the goals, but we still can be ignoring what is going to be necessary in order for us to sustain it. We all, because when you get that goal in your mind, you're thinking about the result. And that we're right at the end. I'm typically that person. I see the end before I start seeing all the steps that it's going to take to get me there. And I don't know if I'm the only person. I'm assuming I'm not, but a lot of us are in that mindset. We're visionaries. We can see ourselves at the end. When you want to lose weight, you see what you look like, but you don't think about all the process that it's going to take for you to get there. It's like you want to get there and be at the end, have the peace, have the goals, have everything set up. But you don't want to talk about what it's going to take for you to get there. You don't want to talk about the fact that you are going to have better boundaries in order to be able to be on this journey, especially as it relates to health. You don't want to talk about the fact that in order for you to be healthy, it's going to require you also protecting your peace, because you got to be laser focused. You got to be insightful and intelligent and intentional about you in order to make sure your energy is moving in the right way. You don't want to talk about the fact that it's not going to be perfect the first time you try something different. You're going to struggle with different exercises. You're going to struggle achieving different goals, and you don't want to talk about that. And so we have to start there, because for me, I had to get real about the fact that, yes, I knew I wanted to be better. I knew I wanted to be different. I can actually recall the specific moment in time when I made the decision that I wanted to be different. The specific moment in time was the exact day after I did my event, The Reset. That was when I knew I wanted to be different. Because when I looked back at The Reset, and The Reset, for those of you that are new here, is a one-day of wellness event that I held at a hotel, beautiful resort here in Orlando for women. And it was a great intimate experience. And I got to see myself in a way where I was interacting with amazing women and pouring into people and giving them tools to help them live their best life from a mental, physical, financial, and community-based way. And I felt involved. But when I look back at all the video, all the pictures the day after, I was like, that's not the woman that I am. Like, that woman inside of me that I am right now was like knocking on the outside of me like, hey, are you about ready to let me out now? Because you can't keep pouring into other people if you can't pour into yourself. If you can't get yourself right, you can't. So I realized in that moment that I wanted to be better. And I realized, because it wasn't that I wasn't a beautiful woman. It wasn't that I was an intelligent woman. It was, I just didn't feel healthy. I didn't feel like who I was supposed to be. At that point in time, I was just like, I was entirely too heavy. I need to move. I need to get some of this weight off so that I can let the woman that is inside of me, that is knocking on the inside, ready to come out, that wants to continue to do all these things, out. And so in that moment, I knew that I wanted to do something different. And so when I started at that point, I didn't realize that I was going to have to do as much work as I needed to do in regards to discipline and patience and self-trust, because it was going to require, this journey was going to require a deeper understanding of myself. And I wasn't ready for that. Looking back on it, I wasn't. And so I'm giving you this opportunity to kind of see it and understand it from this perspective, so you can ask yourself some intentional questions along the way. So if you see me looking down, it's my phone because I have them written out. And so, because these are things that I had to ask myself as I'm on this journey. And so what I want to ask you first, for you to ask yourself, is what version of you is required for the life that you're praying for? Let me repeat that again. What version of you is required for the life that you're praying for? Because like I mentioned to you, I wasn't focused initially on what version of me was going to be required to become the woman that I wanted to be. Like I said, I was just seeing myself from the exterior, and I didn't realize the amount of discipline and trust and everything that I was going to need to work on in order to become who that woman was. And so you have to understand that the goal isn't going to be for you simply to achieve the goal. The goal is going to be for you to understand that the person that you have to become is something that you can sustain. You can sustain what you have been praying for. You can sustain what you have been working for. You have to be able to shift back and give yourself the mindset to ask, what is going to be required for me to be able to achieve this level of change in my life? And one of the things that we have to do after we've asked that question, or even probably as we are asking that question, we have to stop waiting to be ready. Because, if I think back, like I said, in that particular moment after the reset, that's when I decided to make the change that I wanted to be different. I still, at that point in time, looking back on it, I still wasn't ready. Even though I had made the change to be ready, I still wasn't 100% ready. And when I say that is, I wasn't instantly, like the next day, calling Dr. Hill in order to set up an appointment so we could sit down and start talking about my weight loss. No, I had to ruminate on it. I'm not gonna lie, I had to eat a pizza afterwards. I did. I wasn't ready. I was waiting for this right moment. And literally I created the right moment because I was like, well, I'm not ready to make this commitment. No offense. My husband was coming to town at the time. We were still dating. And I was like, for his birthday. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait until after his birthday when he's gone, because I want to have a good time. Like, I had to have a semblance of control. I literally had to set a timeline for when I was ready to get ready, which is crazy. Because if you think about it from the standpoint, a lot of people spend a lot of time. And when I say time, I'm talking a lot of years waiting for this moment to happen where you decide, you know what, I'm ready. I'm ready to change my life. I'm ready to get healthy. I'm ready to achieve my goals. And really what you're doing when you're doing that is you're waiting for more certainty a lot of times, because you just, you still got those little quirks and doubts. Sometimes you're waiting for less fear because you're afraid of the change, the afraid of the work. You start to think about, what is this really going to take to sustain it? Or you think that you need more time, and more money, because we always want to do that, I always want to say, I got to have more money. I got to wait till it's perfect. But no offense, if we can find the money to pay for trips, shoes, and all these different things, we can find the money to pay for our goals. We can find the money to pay for things that are going to help us be healthy. I mean, you got to keep it trill. Like, we're always trying to figure out or kick the can down the road, as I like to say, in regards to this perfect time. But the truth is understanding that a lot of times readiness doesn't come until you actually decide to move. For me, like I said, I didn't know how it was going to unfold, but I knew that after the reset that I was ready. And I thought about my life at that point, like, I was in love. I just reconnected with my husband now. And I was like, I didn't know how life was going to be. And so I'm like, I got to figure this out. I have to decide that, I can't worry about how my life is going to go, falling in love again, doing the reset, working, taking care of my mom or my sister. I couldn't continue to allow life, because all those things are life, to delay me from having enough confidence to move forward. I wanted to be ready because I knew I needed to be ready. And it didn't matter if I had a clear path or not. I still needed to understand. So I decided to start anyway. And so another question that I would want you to ask yourself, what have you been postponing because you're waiting to feel ready? And I'll repeat that again. What have you been postponing because you're waiting to feel ready? Because I'm going to be honest, you're never going to be ready enough. You're never going to be ready enough. Like I said, life was lifing in beautiful ways, but it was still lifing. I still had things going on. And I was like, I still have to choose me in order to make it happen. And so I did it. I did it afraid. And that's the thing. What have you been postponing because you're ready? You're waiting to feel ready because you're afraid. Because truth, like we've kind of identified here, movement creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence, and confidence comes after action. Because after I got started, I know on my journey, I felt better. Like a weight was lifted off of me after I did my first consultation with Dr. Hill. And I still was bucking up a little bit. I mean, that's a whole nother story, I can't act like I'm perfect, child. I cannot. And I'm stubborn. And when I'm not ready, I'm not ready. And I'm going to do it my way until I get ready. But again, I still did it. And so again, I remind you, what have you been postponing because you're waiting to feel ready? Because you have to understand that when you get ready, when you take this step, when you decide that you really want to move forward with your life, you do have to realize, I hope, that the future version of you is built on very ordinary days. And really, this is a powerful part of it because transformation isn't built on exciting days. I know consistency is sexy. It is. Consistency is sexy, but it's not exciting. I'm just going to be truly honest. It's not. It's really about understanding that you are going to stay committed to your goals, regardless of how work is, how stressful life is. If you're a caregiver, mama, daddy, whatever, you're going to keep going through that. You're going to work through it and stay consistent through the disappointments and unexpected setbacks because, baby, I still have responsibilities over here. I still care for a family. I've even added to it now. Like I said, when I first started, I was dating. Now I'm married. And my husband and I are long distance. So it's like, it's a lot. I have a husband in a whole nother state. I got my mama who's continuing to age. I've got my younger sister. It's us against the world. And I have work and life. And I still have to find that consistency. And I still, even in the midst of all of that. And so I have days personally where I don't want to show up. I do. I have days like that. And I'm just keeping it real. How my workout works. I get up early in the morning. I'm a workout warrior. I really enjoy the 5 a.m., 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m. workout kind of thing. That's me. That's what I find. And it's not easy. I'm not just like perking up every morning like, whew, gotta get up. There are mornings when I have to sit on the edge of the bed and say, Jesus, why? Why was I not born just with a super fast metabolism and the body of a stripper like I want? I really do say that to myself sometimes in order to pass through. And but I still go. Even when I complain, even when I roll over on the cool side of the pillow and lay down for an additional 10 minutes of time, I recognize after that 10 minutes of time that the only person that I'm cheating is myself. And I owe this to me. I deserve this. and I get up and I go anyway. And I don't care if I have stayed on the phone talking to my husband until midnight. I'm still going to get up at my designated time and go, because life is going to happen and I'm going to navigate it. And I have to understand that my consistency, albeit sexy, it does not require perfection. Because really, if keeping it here, we got to think about it. It's not about every workout being perfect, every walk being perfect, every healthy choice being perfect, every night of rest, every glass of water. All those things are small things that perfectly lead up to a consistent result. And so those days where I don't feel it and I push through because I know that my consistency while being sexy gets me closer to where I want to accomplish. It's all about understanding that even the small things on the most mundane moments, in the moments where you just don't feel like being bothered, all of them eventually will lead to a long-term result. It's just, you have to understand, it's just not always going to be a pop off flash kind of moment. It's not going to look every day like you see the influencers on social media who have the beautiful acai bowls and the great leggings and all those things together. I told y'all I look busted and disgusted probably when I go to the gym in the morning, but I don't care. I'm not going there to cupcake with you. I'm going in there to put in that work because that's what I want to do. And so I'm asking you to think about, in your life right now, what's one small thing you can continue doing even when life gets busy? Because you have to be able to do that. And I'm going to say it again. What's one small thing you can continue doing even when life gets busy? Because life is going to get busy. That's what life does. And you have to understand that all your small steps, even in the most mundane ways, all of them lead to your long-term goal. And that can be fitness, that can be whatever thing that you're working on, but it's something that you have to commit to. You have to commit to it even when it's not perfect, because consistency is also continuation. And that is what's going to get you closer to your goal. Because it's easy, like I said, to kind of get caught up in it. It is like you get tired and life gets funny and all these things. And you have to recognize that your health and wellness is so much more than your weight. Because that's also one of the biggest things that I've learned is that you have to, at some point in time, understand that it's so much bigger than the scale. Your wellness is physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, relational health, financial health. Like all of those things play a factor. Because if I look at it for me, like when I first started, for my first year of this journey, I'm really clear. I wanted to lose weight. I told y'all in the beginning, I didn't like how big I was. I wanted to be smaller so that the other woman that was knocking inside could come out. But as I have been on this journey, I recognize now it's not about that anymore. It's not. For me, this second year, and I've said it before, I'm not even focused on the scale this year. I'm focused on my well-being. I'm focused on my goals. And my goals are a lot more succinct in regards to, I am committed to building muscle mass and losing body fat, just so that you can understand from a perspective of weight, of overall physical health, where I'm at. I'm not worried anymore about the number on the scale. I don't care if I never get any lower than 200 pounds, but if I can be 200 pounds and 20% body fat, 26, 28% body fat, and look like a brick house, I'm straight. You know what I mean? It's not about the number on the scale. It's about my health. If I can do that and not be on any kind of medications that are related to any type of metabolic issues. If I can be able to walk and lift weights and do big things without feeling like I'm 102, then I'm okay with that. Hopefully you're tracking with what I'm saying. It's just, it's understanding that your goals are going to shift. And as a part of that, and understanding that wellness is so much more than the weight, it's also understanding that this act, this pursuit, this goal is about me learning to trust myself. Yeah. I mean, really trust myself, really understand that I know what's best for me and I will execute it. Because see, that's a thing that a lot of us don't do. We know what's best for us, but we won't execute it. We won't. We don't honor ourselves enough. And this is that season of your life where you have to ask yourself, what are you doing to honor yourself? And even that is a reflection point for you now. Think about this. What area of your wellness needs attention right now? And I don't want you to think about it, not just your body, because like I said, wellness encompasses so many different things. It really is time to get real about that and figure out where the issues were that maybe caused you to lose trust in you. Because we can do everything for everyone. We can care for our families. We can care for our friends. We can care for our coworkers and be kind and considerate, nurture, support, encourage, bring food, all those things, make recommendations, and can't do any of that for ourselves. There are people out here who will work themselves to the bone. My parents, my father in particular, I think about that all the time. My dad was such a great man. He took amazing care of my sister and my mother and I, and made sure we always went to the doctor and did those things. But he would not do that for himself. And it cost us. It cost us his life. It cost him. You wind up giving and giving and giving, and don't put that same energy back into yourself because you feel like, oh, you can neglect you because everyone else is well. That's not the case. In this season, in this time, you have to put the oxygen mask on you first. And that means getting real and paying attention to your health and wellness. So again, before we move on, what area of your wellness needs attention right now? Because it is important that you think about this because it's time for you to be in stewardship to you. You have been in service to everyone else. It is time to be in service to you. And then that leads me really into where when you start to really understand that it's time for you to be in stewardship of you, it's time for you to actually think about what are you really training for? You know, what do you think about? What is the goal? And like I told you a minute ago, it's metabolic health, gaining more muscle, body fat, having the body of a stripper, that's from a wellness outside perspective. But if I think about it for me, and this is actually a really important key, and I think as a part of the chain of why I'm so consistent, I had to get clear about why I'm really doing all this. Because for me, yes, all that other stuff that I mentioned is important, but I'm training for the longevity. I'm training for the long haul. I am 53. I will be 54 in a few months. Time is moving quick. And I want to be able to thrive as I get into my middle age of life. And I want to be strong. And I'm talking about I want to lift big shit. Excuse my language. I do. I want to lift big shit. I really get off on lifting heavy weights, y'all. I like it. I like press 320. I'm already thinking, God, what if I can get to a day where I can leg press 500? Imagine what I can do. Me, my little behind can do that. What? The girl who had a reconstructed knee, girl who was broke down, used to have to go to the chiropractor every 2 weeks faithfully just so I could get some of the inflammation and stress out of my body so that I could be productive. Me? I'm so excited about that. You know what I'm also training for? I'm training for my marriage. I love my husband. And I want to be an active, viable partner and support to my husband. I do. I love it. I love being married. And I want my marriage to be fun. My husband and I, we define our marriage and we have a good time. He's my best friend. And so I want him to have an active partner because God brought us together at a later time. So I want to make sure that I'm maximizing this time because he's got my last breath. Until my last breath, and then I will come back to life and breathe more life into this thing because I want more time with him. Whew. And I'm doing this also for my peace. I've never felt so good as I do now. I mean, this is like, I'm tapping into my purpose. I'm tapping into my impact. I'm tapping into this next season of my life. I'm thinking ahead of what 60 and beyond is going to look like. So that's why I'm training. And so what I want you to do is I want to ask you to ask yourself, what are you training for? Are you training for better health? Are you training for financial freedom? Are you training for healing, for confidence, for peace, for a stronger relationship, a deeper sense of faith? What is it? But you have to get clear, because your future deserves your preparation. You can't slack through this. Overall, it's time to get real. Like, it just doesn't work. We can't just keep acting like we want the goal and don't understand the work and effort and energy it's going to take to get to the end of that, because it's hard. I mean, it's hard. And you have to have a clear understanding so that you don't abandon yourself on the way there. Because like I said, everybody can show up for everyone else, your family, your friends, your job, all those things. And then we disappear. Because again, it's learning that you have to show up for you, and that choosing you is never going to be selfish. And for myself, like I said, I prioritize this time. I do. I don't mind getting up at 4 something in the morning, because that's my time. That's me. That's the time when no one calls my name. That's the time when I don't need to fix anyone anything, when I don't need to answer anyone's request. It is just me and my focus. And my focus is so entertaining. Like, I don't work out with music. I don't need that. I am so locked in now that this is all about me. And it's not selfish, it is self-preserving. And you need to ask yourself, what ways have maybe you stopped showing up for yourself? What ways are you not giving yourself that space to be preserved? Because in order for you to become the woman that you need to be, you need to stay present in your own story. You can't continuously keep getting caught up. You have to understand that your family, your friends, your job, they can survive without you. I mean, let's always be honest. In a corporate structure, child, you gone tomorrow, they're going to replace you. They will find an opportunity. They'll miss you, but it's going to keep moving. Cycle keeps moving. You have to keep moving. So be selfish, if that's what you want to call it. I call it self-preservation. I don't think it's selfish. I think it's selfless, actually, because we have to show up for you. There is only one you, and you are uniquely and divinely made. And you've got to protect it. You've got to nurture it. You've got to grow it, because we deserve you, and you deserve you. And so I really just want you guys to kind of think about that, especially. And so one thing I want to do before we kind of wrap up, I want you to grab a notebook and answer some questions for yourself. And these are some questions I have. So like I said, if you see me looking down, that's what I am. I want you to answer these questions because it's essential. Like I said, just teeing this up. Why have you doing this? It's essential for you, if you're on the wellness journey, to get very clear about what that goal looks like, what the work is going to require, and how committed that you're going to be. So you have to see the vision. You have to write the vision, make it plain, and honor it. And that vision applies whether you're trying to lose weight, buy a house, make money, get a new job, all those things. You have to be clear, because remember, it's going to require another version of you. And so let's talk about it. First question, I want you to write down and answer these questions for yourself. Who are you becoming? Ask yourself, who am I becoming? What habits does she have? What does she believe? What does she no longer tolerate? What is one thing I can do this week to become her? And I'll repeat them again really quite fast. Who am I becoming? What habits does she have? What does she believe? What does she no longer tolerate? What is one thing I can do this week to become her? Because the woman that you're becoming doesn't magically appear one day. She is built through every choice you make, every thought you have, everything. She is built through it. She is built on every boundary, every act of faith, every healthy decision, every moment you choose yourself, every brick you lay. So stop waiting to become her. There's no time better than the present. Start practicing becoming her today. Because if you do that, I promise you one day you're going to look up and you realize that everything that you were training for has already started to happen, my love. It's already taken shape, brick by brick, my dear. So that is this week's episode. I really want to thank you again. I hope that it helps you start to plan how you want to be, help you achieve your goals. I truly am rooting for you. I believe in you. Don't stop believing in yourself. Even if it feels like right now you don't know how to get started, it just takes one simple step. Take a step. Do one thing that you can consistently do to change this week to get you closer to where you want to be. I'm pulling for you. I'm praying for you. I'm believing for you because wellness is so much more than weight, my love. And I want you to have that experience in all areas of your life. And if you need me, you guys know where I'll be. I'll have all my information in the show notes. Don't hesitate to reach out. Like I said, we have so much more to talk about on this wellness journey, this life journey. And we're building this thing brick by brick. So let's get the bricks together and build together. Please take care of yourselves and each other. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend. And we'll take care and talk to each other again soon. Bye-bye.